Launching fall 2023, the iPhone 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max were substantial upgrades to the 14 Pro, bringing a new titanium build, better hardware and photography, USB-C for the first time, and most importantly, the ever-important and beloved action button. Okay, that last part's a little bit of a joke, but even so, nearly 3 years later, these phones have held up fantastically well, still delivering consistently strong performance, while also being fully compatible with some new features like Apple Intelligence. And for around $500 on eBay.com, these might just be some of the best iPhones you can buy today. Hey, how's it going? I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and today we're talking about a phone that I purchased at launch and loved so much that I skipped the 16 Pro entirely, despite the fact that I bought a new iPhone every single year going back to the iPhone 10. And while I did upgrade to the iPhone 17 Pro last year, my old 15 Pro Max is still going strong, now being used by my brother, as it served as a pretty big upgrade from his aging 13 Pro, particularly in the battery department. So today we're asking a couple big questions. How does the iPhone 15 Pro hold up, and is it still worth buying? As already stated, the iPhone 15 Pro holds up exceptionally well, and I don't see that changing anytime soon, which means it very well could be worth buying for the right user, especially if you can find a good deal on the second-hand market. There are always downsides to buying used, but considering you're likely to end up paying less than you would for Apple's cheapest option in the iPhone 17e, a device that is significantly worse in the display, cameras, and not much better in performance, I mean, if you are comfortable buying used or refurbished, then it sure feels like a no-brainer. I would certainly rather have the 15 Pro than the 17e personally. And I will also have my full iPhone buying guide linked in the description if you're curious about some other models. You get so much with the 15 Pro, a beautiful design and premium build, an excellent triple camera lens setup, solid performance with the A17 Pro chipset and 8GB of RAM. The smaller 6.1-inch 15 Pro starts with 128 gigs, whereas the 6.7-inch 15 Pro Max starts with 256, and it is the Max that especially feels like it's aged the best. Not only does its larger battery mean better power performance, but it also has the upgraded 5x zoom telephoto camera lens versus the smaller 15 Pro's older 3x zoom lens, albeit that one is still great too. Aside from these minor differences, the phones are identical, and if you find the smaller device more comfortable, then I wouldn't worry about missing out on much, especially since you'll be saving cash in the process anyways. Something you should watch out for is the battery health, which, as these phones age, may be starting to be a problem. You can check it in settings, and once it's around 80% or lower, you are likely to experience significantly degraded life, and this will only get worse with time. But you can get the battery replaced by Apple for about $100 in the US at least, which, while not cheap, I think is well worth doing considering how it can breathe new life into an otherwise still stellar smartphone. A lot of the clips you'll be seeing in this video are old ones that I recorded some time ago, since my brother is still now using my 15 Pro Max as his daily driver, but I can assure you that iOS 26 is performing quite well, and I would expect to see the same from iOS 27 when that drops in the fall. The iPhone 15 line is set to likely get major software support through to around 2030 or so, giving plenty more years of full updates, and I highly doubt this phone really will ever get slow. We live in an age now where phones are holding up better and better with time, and there's little reason to expect that to change anytime soon. If you do buy an iPhone 15 Pro today, it is a phone that could easily last you a few years, if not longer, though you might need to get your battery serviced in that time to keep it going. And for current 15 Pro users, I see little reason to upgrade unless, of course, you're ready to move on, and there's something with a newer iPhone that maybe you're eager to get a hold of. And if that's the case, you could always sell your 15 Pro on the used market, and in turn, for those of you looking to pick one up, the good news is that the price is quite reasonable considering everything we've discussed thus far. iPhones do retain their value to a far better degree than most of their competitors, but in fairness, there is a reason for that fact. Looking to eBay.com, the smaller 15 Pro with 128 gigs can be readily found for under $500. I would recommend going for at least 256 gigs, especially if you take a lot of photos and video, since the extra space is just nice to have, and at that point you're probably getting closer to that $500 mark, and then the 15 Pro Max I was finding for surprisingly not all that much more than that. And I would normally point people to the 15 Pro Max if you're okay with the bigger screen, since better battery life is already probably worth it. In any case, definitely look around and ensure you're buying a good condition device with a healthy battery from a reputable seller. And you might also have some luck checking locally, something like Facebook Marketplace. So long as the Apple account is signed out, there's no bad IMEI or anything like that, you should be good to go. But I would try to avoid any phone that's not in ideal condition, as they can present a much greater risk. If the phone hasn't been treated well over the years, I mean, you might be rolling the dice a little bit. But what I was seeing on eBay, honestly, these are just straight up solid, reasonable prices for a phone that I would 100% prefer to buy over the $600 iPhone 17e. And honestly, I would probably get this over the $800 iPhone 17 as well, potentially, just thanks to having the telephoto camera lens and more premium build. You're missing out on very few modern features, as again, Apple Intelligence is fully supported here, and we have USB-C, which is awesome. And I mean, compared to my 17 Pro, I guess it doesn't have a camera control button, and obviously cameras have improved a good bit, as well as the battery life, but the 17 Pro, or the 18 Pro when that launches, will cost you over double what a 15 Pro will run you secondhand, and it definitely won't be twice as good a phone. If you're willing to buy used, this is an amazing buy right now, and I would argue one of the best value iPhones available today. And it's also one that's aging really well for current users. So let's back up a bit here and take a closer look at the phone itself and why it's so great, from the hardware and cameras to the overall experience. When it comes to any Pro iPhone, you can always expect a Pro design, and the 15 Pro is no exception. Seamless titanium frame, frosted matte glass backing, and an extremely comfortable and premium feeling build, with now softer, more rounded corners and a noticeably lighter weight than that of the older stainless steel 14 Pro. The switch to titanium did always feel a little unnecessary to me, like Apple was just looking for something to market, and those feelings have only gotten stronger given that the 17 Pro would switch just straight up to fully aluminum, but there is something to be said about those 15 Pro and 16 Pro's designs. I truly feel like this is a beautiful phone, and I'm not sure I would say the same about my 17 Pro as much as I love the orange color. And I also do love that natural titanium color on my old 15 Pro Max. You will probably want a case to keep this phone protected, but just definitely avoid those fine woven cases as much as possible if you see one still available somehow. Apple only sold them for 1 year, and they're some of the worst phone cases any company has ever made. They're just awful, so get a different case. From the front, we can see the 6.1-inch or 6.7-inch ProMotion Super Retina XDR OLED display featuring a high resolution and pixel density and a buttery smooth 120Hz refresh rate. We've got the always-on display, something that is completely unavailable on the iPhone 17e, thanks to it having the old iPhone 14 screen. You don't get ProMotion or even the Dynamic Island on that phone, but you do get the Dynamic Island here, and it's just as dynamic as ever on the 15 Pro. Seriously, underrated feature, I really like having it. Comparing the 15 Pro to the 17e, I would say the display is really the most substantial upgrade, and I am pointing this out just due to the similarity in price point. The iPhone 17 finally did bring the ProMotion panel to the non-Pro iPhones, but the 15 Pro's already got it, and for a decent bit cheaper. Throw in some other niceties like the action button, which was brand new with the 15 Pro, USB-C with USB 3 speeds, MagSafe, great speakers, IP68 water and dust resistance, and so on and so forth. It all makes for a still top-end smartphone that's not missing all that much from Apple's newest options. Again, there's no camera control button, as that would come the next year, but this is not a feature I find myself actually using all that much on my 17 Pro, so personally I would say it's not a big deal. And this being a Pro iPhone, not only do we get the Pro design and Pro features, but you also get some Pro cameras, which are on their own also a huge upgrade over the single sensor on the iPhone 17e. We've got the main 48 megapixel wide lens that can crop into 12 megapixels for a 2x zoom, alongside a 12 megapixel ultra wide lens and a 12 megapixel telephoto lens, which gives 3x zoom on the smaller 15 Pro, just like the 14 Pro did, or 5x zoom on the 15 Pro Max, which is a nice benefit to the bigger model beyond just the larger display and battery. It's also a greater zoom than the 48 megapixel 4x lens on my 17 Pro, but because it's only 12 megapixels, you don't have the option to crop in further without digital zoom, so that orange phone does still have it beat with an 8x zoom option. The ultra-wide would be up to 48 megapixels with the 16 Pro the next year, but the sensor here is still very good, and the entire camera setup as a whole has held up fantastically well. Smartphone photography was excellent in 2023, and is still very much excellent today, even if there have been some welcome improvements made year to year. I also sometimes kinda miss that 5x lens, though the 4/8x is obviously preferable, and the versatility with the 17 Pro really can't be matched. But then, how often do I even need the 8x zoom? 5x was already plenty good, and as you can see from many of the photos I took over my 2 years using the phone, the 15 Pro is by no means lacking in the photography department. The ultra-wide is probably the weakest lens of the bunch in my opinion, but it's still more than adequate. The main wide lens is certainly the strongest. Video can be shot in up to 4K 60, and you've got an array of ProRes and ProRAW options for snapping photos if you so desire, though personally I'm lazy, and that's totally okay because just pointing and shooting will consistently deliver fantastic results in practically any situation. These are just really good cameras. All in all, if you want a phone that has most of the bells and whistles of a modern Pro iPhone, including a stacked triple camera lens setup, the 15 Pro still more than holds its own. Yes, my 17 Pro now is even more impressive, but the 15 Pro when I had it was still great, and my brother hasn't had any complaints with it, and nor will anyone else who picks one of these phones up today, in my opinion. Powered by Apple's A17 Pro chipset and 8GB of RAM, this phone is substantially more powerful than the non-Pro iPhone 15 and 15 Plus, to the point that this right here is the oldest iPhone compatible with Apple Intelligence. Sure, Apple Intelligence kind of sucks, but hey, I would rather have the option to use it over not having that option, I guess. The 15 Pro runs iOS 26 no problem, and iOS 27 will undoubtedly be in the same boat. This is a phone that will get many more years of updates, as already discussed, probably to around iOS 30 or so, if not longer, and I do really think it could get longer. We'll have to wait and see what Apple does, but with 8GB of RAM, there's quite a bit of power here. I definitely wouldn't expect this phone to really ever get slow. Any app, anything you might want to throw at this device, the 15 Pro will get the job done fast. The only potential issues I can see arising anytime soon is if you're getting full for storage, which could happen, especially if you're using the 128GB model, or maybe your battery is getting unhealthy. That can definitely negatively impact the experience, and it's something that's going to be only more and more common as we hit the 3-year mark since these phones were released. Again, Apple will charge you $100 US for getting your battery serviced, and your phone will even let you know under battery health and settings once this is a good idea to get done. I definitely would recommend a new battery for those who are currently using this phone and maybe having trouble here compared to how it used to perform. For myself, before I moved on to the 17 Pro, my 15 Pro Max was still easily getting me a day's usage, even on iOS 26, unless I was really pushing it by spending hours on FaceTime or something. But mind you, that is the max, which is going to be better for battery life than the smaller model. Apple rates the 15 Pro for up to 23 hours of video playback, the 15 Pro Max up to 29 hours, versus up to 33 hours on my 6.3-inch 17 Pro for some perspective. And while my newer phone has certainly outperformed my 15 Pro Max, I wouldn't say that it's been by a hugely significant margin, but it's still very impressive, especially given the phone is physically way smaller. While I can't guarantee every single 15 Pro user out there is going to be having a great time 3 years later, I'd be surprised if too many are really desperate to upgrade yet, unless they've got plenty of disposable income or just want something that's on the newer iPhones. Like maybe an upgraded 18-megapixel selfie camera that came on the iPhone 17 line versus the 12 megapixels on the 15 Pro, though it still does a very good job. And that's kind of this review in a nutshell. The 15 Pro as a whole is great, and that's not going to be changing anytime soon. For anywhere from $400 to $600 off the used market, assuming you're finding a good deal for a phone in at least decent condition, I'd say go for it. This is absolutely one of the best iPhones you can buy right now, and I would highly recommend doing so, especially over something like the iPhone 17e in comparison. The 16 Pro for not much more is also worth a look, though it brings very little over the 15 Pro outside of the camera control button, slightly larger screen, 48-megapixel ultra-wide lens, and it'll receive an extra year of updates in the long run. You know, it's a little bit faster. But I really don't think you can go wrong with any of these older Pro iPhones, and the 15 Pro in particular, being the first to have USB-C, just makes so much sense for those looking for a Pro experience at a mid-range price point. Now quickly checking the refurbished section on Apple's website, I was seeing the 15 Pro with 512 gigs for $930, which is, that's way too much. Even with half a terabyte, that's too much money. Considering how much these cost on eBay, I really wouldn't give Apple your money for a refurbished model. The inventory varies a lot, so a lower capacity 15 Pro absolutely could pop up, but I think I'd rather just roll the dice with eBay. You're gonna save a lot there, or Facebook Marketplace, or whatever works for you. And yeah, the iPhone 15 Pro, it's awesome, and that's the long and short of what I have to say. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Are any of you currently using the 15 Pro or are thinking about getting one? How do you think it holds up today? Make sure to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you found this video interesting or helpful, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more tech content. Thank you all so much for watching. I am Josh from 91 Tech, and I will see you all next time.